Shalom to everyone. I am Rabbi Wolk. I'm the community chaplain with Jewish Family Service. I hope this finds all of you well and healthy. With our celebration a few weeks ago of the holiday of Purim, we've unfortunately now completed the yearly cycle of all Jewish festivals during the COVID pandemic. Upcoming holiday of Passover will be our second Passover together under the pandemic. God willing, will be certainly the last one. I emphasize the word together is because this experience for all of us this past year has really, in many ways, I think, brought us together and underscored our responsibility of one to another. And no holiday of the year emphasizes this concept more than the holiday of Passover, the start of the Jewish people as a nation. In a few days, we'll celebrate the Passover Seder, the special Passover celebration, and in which we, before experiencing freedom, we have to talk about the years of slavery and servitude. And to me, one of the highlights of the Passover Seder is counting or recounting the 10 plagues that God visited upon the Egyptians in the land of Egypt. The custom associated with it, some people pour off a little bit of wine, as they say, each of the 10 plagues. Others put their pinky into the wine, take a little bit off. By the way, the symbolism of that is that our joy, our happiness of going to freedom did have to come at the expense of plagues afflicting the Egyptians. And therefore our joy cannot be complete. Our full goblet of wine or grape juice represents our joy. And so we temper our joy when we recite the plagues to indicate that our joy is tempered because it had to come at the painful expense of other people. Now, the ninth plague that we talk about is the plague of darkness. And usually we think of that as a plague of a solar eclipse. Somehow there was no light for the Egyptians, but for the Israelites, as the Torah tells us, there was light. One of the commentators gives really a very interesting explanation. He points out that if you look at the text in the book of Exodus that talks about the plague, there's no mention of the sun. It doesn't say that God blotted out the sun for 3 days. And so his explanation is that God caused a membrane to grow over the eyes of the Egyptians. They developed, if you will, cataracts, and they were afflicted with blindness. And that's why it was so terrifying for them. The Torah tells us no one could stand up, people froze in their places, because what they were experiencing was something new. It was not the darkness of night. It was not even the darkness of when we close our eyes. When we close our eyes, we see blackness. God forbid someone who was blind does not see anything. And that's what the Egyptians experienced, the darkness of a blind person. And that's why it was so terrifying. The other plagues were also terrifying. The other plagues also afflicted the Egyptians and their animals and their land. But all the other plagues were a shared experience. The Egyptians experienced it together. They could commiserate and talk to one another when the plagues were going on. The plague of darkness, however, was different. They experienced it individually, and the loneliness added to the pain that they were experiencing. And that really made it a terrible, terrible plague. Now, in many ways during this past year, many of our people, of our community, people in Dallas, people across the country and the world, have likewise been experiencing the pain of loneliness, of being alone, of being secluded. And one of our responsibilities at Jewish Family Service, in fact, one of our responsibilities as Jews, as human beings, is to try to remedy those feelings of loneliness, whether it's through our food pantry, whether it's still through our contact via Zoom, phone calls with our clients, whether it's each one of us reaching out to our neighbors, contacting older people we may know, just to inquire how they're doing. How did they do after the storm? Do they have enough food? Do they have enough supplies for the Passover holiday? So that no one feels alone for the holiday. That can be a terrible affliction. It doesn't have to be the blindness of Egypt, the darkness of Egypt, but no one should be alone. And as we know, Passover emphasizes the idea of families and friends coming together. Once again, this year, our celebration of the holiday will be muted. People will not be gathering in their Passover Seder in big numbers as we're normally accustomed to, but no one should be forgotten. That's the pledge that all the dedicated staff members at Jewish Family Service take, that no one in our community is forgotten, no one is overlooked. We take an account of each individual. And so I want to take this opportunity to wish all of you a happy Passover, that it's shared as much as it can with friends and relatives. And I thank you for taking your time to listen to my message today. Passover is a shared experience. The experience of the COVID pandemic is a shared experience between all of us. And by sharing together, yes, holiday celebrations and even pandemics, it gives us all, hopefully, a strong note of consolation and comfort. Be well and shalom. Thank you.